And yeah, great to see so many of you here. Hope we have a few people online as well. But yeah, hey, so it's great to be back here in Tokyo, and great to be back at Sushi Tech, formerly known as City Tech last year. So I think Sushi Tech is an improvement on that. But we still have like some way to go. Anyway, so I'm here to talk about my experiences on like how to build startup ecosystems, and based on the experience that we had in Finland and in the finest Bay Area. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Peter, and I started my entrepreneurial journey at the original technology startup. So that's the company that Bill and Dave started in their garage in Palo Alto in California in 1939. Okay, as we have a few young people here as well, I always have to add that 1939, before my time, I wasn't there. But I was fortunate enough to meet with both Bill and Dave when they were still around. And they were fantastic entrepreneurs, because not only did they start HP, so it was Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, so Hewlett Packard, HP. Not only did they start HP in that garage in Palo Alto, but actually they started Silicon Valley. So that was that garage is the birthplace of Silicon Valley. That's where it all started. And after Bill and Dave, we've seen many success stories come out of Silicon Valley. Intel, Apple, Google, you name it. And I think nowadays, we can't live a day in our life without being touched by some technology. We all carry devices powered by various Silicon Valley companies in our pockets. So it's impossible, or almost impossible, to live without being touched by technologies coming from Silicon Valley. And there is also kind of like a bit of a model to the madness, if you will. But Silicon Valley is a fantastic place. Again, all of those success stories. But if you look at a little bit how the model works, Bill and Dave, they met at Stanford, and then their professor at Stanford suggested that, hey, why don't you start a company? And they did. They started HP in their garage, and kind of like the rest is history. Many years later, Sergey and Larry, they met at Stanford. They went to Susan Wojcicki's garage in Menlo Park, I think it was, and Google happened. So, the model is you meet at Stanford, Berkeley, you meet at one of the universities, you go to your garage, magic happens. That's how it works. But I think that there is an important lesson there. Where do you find the future, and what is the future? The future is all about young people. I think that's biology. That's how it works. All people die. So of course the young people are the future. And I think this is something that is very important. Where do you find the young people? Where do you find the future talent? Typically at universities or high schools. So I think this is something that is very important, and it's an important part of this kind of like Silicon Valley model, if you will. Very important. But then, if you look at what we have been up to in Finland and in the finest Bay Area. So finest Bay Area is Finland, Estonia, Sweden. In 2007, I gave a talk at Aalto University to 600 students. 600 of our brightest minds, our future, doers, future makers. And I was talking about startups, I was talking about entrepreneurship, like now. And then during my talk, I asked the students, how many of you will start a company or join a startup. Once you graduate, or even before, that is okay as well. In 2007, when I asked this from 600 students, only 3 raised their hand. 3 out of 600. I mean, that's pathetic. That's like complete disaster, because what that means is that most of the students wanted to go and work for Nokia, Kone, Wärtsilä, one of the big corporations, or maybe even the government. And I always say that there is nothing wrong with that, but if everybody wants to work, for the big guys, for the big corporations, for the government, that means that the young people just want to get a good job and maintain, the status quo. And if you just want to maintain the status quo, what do you get? Japan. Not much happening in the last 20 years, not much growth, not much, like new things happening. Exact same problem in Finland. People were happy with the status quo. We're doing okay, we'll just go and get a nice job at Nokia or one of the big corporations. I think that you can recognize that from here as well, here in Japan. I mean, let's get a good job at, I don't know, NTT or Sony or, Matsushita or, like one of the big guys. And again, nothing wrong with that, but if we want to see progress, if we want to see innovation, then we need to have more startups, we need to have more entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the people who do things. As simple as that. Entrepreneurship is all about doing. And doing new things. And not being afraid of doing new things. Because what happens most of the time when you do new things? You fail. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's a little bit like, how did we all learn how to walk? It's not like one day we wake up and today I'm gonna stand up and walk. No, we try to get up, we fall, we try to get up and we fall many, many times. But eventually we figure it out and we walk, we run, we get stuff done. So we shouldn't be afraid of doing new things. We shouldn't be afraid of starting new companies, starting new initiatives. So 2007, very bad situation in Finland. Out of 600 of our brightest minds are best students. Only 3 out of 600 wanted to do things. And it's a little bit like, you all know what happened to the dinosaurs. The small furry animals took over. So we need more of the small furry animals. So in Finland, small country, we had a big problem. When we have a big problem, we work together to solve it. And I think very similar here in Japan. Big problem, we need to solve it. So what did we do? Together with a few friends, we started Slush. So Slush is now the biggest and best startup event on the planet. Last year at Slush, we had over 3 trillion, so that is over 3,000 billion euros in venture capital. That's the biggest gathering of venture capital any given time anywhere on the planet. There's nothing like that, not in Silicon Valley, not in China, not here in Japan. Biggest. Then if you look at Slush, so the world is full of what I would call wannabe Silicon Valley events. I have been to hundreds of them. I go to Beijing. They tell me that Beijing is the Silicon Valley of China. And this actually happened. The following day after a startup event in Beijing, I went to Hangzhou, home of Alibaba, home of NetEase, Wahaha, many success stories. And then the mayor of Hangzhou tells me, Hangzhou, Silicon Valley of China. Okay, then I come to Japan and I'm told that Tokyo, Silicon Valley of Asia. Silicon Valley of this, Silicon Valley of that. You come to Tampere in Finland, they will probably tell you that they are the Silicon Valley of, I don't know, smart cities or whatever the buzzword happens to be. Everybody wants to be the Silicon Valley of this, Silicon Valley of that. And as I said, Silicon Valley, fantastic place, great source of inspiration. but it's already there. You can't lead by following. You can't copy your way into leadership. So with Slush, we organized Slush in November in Helsinki. When you come to Helsinki in November, I promise you, it will be cold, it will be dark, most likely there will be slush on the ground. So it's very clear that it's not the Silicon Valley. It's better. It's much, much better because it's different. Okay, how is Slush different from all these wannabe Silicon Valley events? It's different because the biggest and best startup event on the planet is organized and owned by young people. Last year we had 20,000 people from 160 countries, including Japan, coming to Helsinki for Slush. Startups, all the best startups are there because all the money is there. All the money is there because all the startups are there. So you get like a very positive, upward spiral. But the whole thing is organized and owned by 1,600 young people. And 1,600 young people from 60 countries, they are there not because somebody told them to be there, not because somebody is paying them to be there. They are there because they love to be there. They want to be there. And the way it works is that you volunteer for Slush. A year, 2, 3 years, you learn how to build the biggest and best startup event on the planet. And after that, you go out and you build the biggest and best startups. Learning by doing. And we have many, many examples of exactly that happening. And when I say that we put young people in charge, I mean it. They own, they run, they operate Slush. So it's not like we invite a few random young people to volunteer and then we ask them to hand out the badges and make coffee. No, it means that they are in charge. Okay, we didn't start or stop at making Slush, the event, happen. After the first Slush, we started student-run entrepreneurship societies at all university campuses in Finland. Student-run. Student-run incubators, student-run accelerators, student-run VCs. And when I mention this student-run VCs, then I'm asked, does that mean that the students write the tickets? Yes, that's what it means putting young people in charge. They raise the fund, they write the tickets, they make it happen. Learning by doing. And as I said, entrepreneurship, that is all about doing, making things happen. So it's very, very important that us older people let go and we put the young people in charge. So I always say that we should make sure that we keep governments and old people out of the way while young people change the world and change Japan. It's as simple as that. But I think that this is something that is easier said than done, but it has to be done. And I have been coming to Japan for many, many years. And I think that we really, really need to stop and think about this. If I look around here, not enough young people. Not enough young people in charge. We need to have grassroots activity, bottoms-up activity. Young people of Japan need to be in charge. And we need to make sure, us slightly older people, that we keep the governments and we keep the old people out of the way while the young people make stuff happen. It's very easy to say this, and everybody kind of like understands that, of course, young people are the future, but we have to make it so. And we all know, here in Japan, it's not so easy. If you're a young person, you're just like Kun. You have to look up to the old people. This is not good. We need to level the playing field. I mean, in Finland, we believe that young people are people too. And if you look at what we have achieved now with Slush and with all the student-run activities, if you look at the finest Bay Area, highest number of startups per capita, highest number of unicorns per capita, highest amount of venture capital invested into local startups per capita. If you look at the OECD numbers from 2 years back, Estonia number 1, Finland number 2, Lithuania number 3, Sweden number 4, and our American friends number 5. It's okay, but it's not like even in the top 3. How did we make this happen? We put young people in charge. That's the only way you can have sustainable change. And now we have the SUS here in Sushi Tech. I hope it means sustainable and not SUS. Young people will get it. But anyway, so I think that this is kind of like my message here. We have to put young people in charge. And if we think about the success, the miracle of Japan after the war, how did it happen? How did it happen? You put young people in charge because you didn't have any alternative. Now we need to do the same. We need to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. So our job now is to make sure that we keep the government and we keep the old people out of the way while the young Japanese people change Japan. Thank you very much.